This is Joe Steckler, your host for Helping Seniors, the radio arm of Helping Seniors of Brevard Incorporated. Our mission is to inform, to educate, and to help people in the county, Brevard County especially, connect with information, be informed about what's happening in the county as it pertains to elders, and to see what we can do about building a better radio network. And after a hiatus of 6 months, we're back on the air on WEJF 90.3 FM. We broadcast every Wednesday from noon to 1 p.m. And it is becoming more aware to me, folks, that we need to do a better job of helping all of you understand what's happening here in Brevard County. We simply need to do everything we can to make people aware of the resources that are available, because it just doesn't make sense to have all these resources and not be able to connect with them. I have found that once you start a program, and we now are entering our 19th year of broadcasting about senior programs here in Brevard County. And we don't make any of this happen, Kerry, unless, and by the way, folks, my co-panelist is Kerry Fink, and Kerry is the media director for Helping Seniors of Brevard. Welcome, Kerry.
Thank you. It's good to be here, Joe.
Well, you know, what's important, folks, is that Kerry has got an extensive background in the media awareness. He's got, you say you've got a doctorate?
well, that's in religious education, but I have an MBA and have been in the radio business and media business for quite a while.
Yeah, but what was that school? Georgia Tech?
Well, it was, I went to undergrad at Georgia Tech and then an MBA from Georgia State. And then the doctors in religious education from Chesapeake Bible College, and seminary. So it's a very varied career, but I love media, and particularly in the county that we live in, where we're spread out 71 miles north to south. It's the best way to reach seniors, and so I'm so glad to see that Helping Seniors is involved in so many media outreaches. I mean, you know, we were talking before the show. We do the radio now every week here on 90.3 FM, WEJF, 30,000 watt station that blankets the whole Space Coast. We do the television programs. They air 3 times a day on Space Coast Government TV. We're in the Helping Seniors newsletter as the center section that people look for each month in Senior Scene magazine. And then we're all over the internet, of course, as everybody must be these days. So it's a good way to get information to seniors.
Yeah, well, you know, and it's not, folks, you're not going to hear the same thing from me or Kerry or any of our panelists on a weekly basis. You know, I've proven this. So we could take the same radio show, and I could do it with 6 or 7 different panelists and get 6 or 7 different perspectives, answers to the questions. Everybody seems to have their own idea about elder care and what the word elder care means. What it means, I think, Kerry, is that many elders can take care of themselves as they get older, yet there are many that can't take care of themselves. Many have extended families. Many have no family at all. And I don't care how well a person plans for the future. So many times a monkey wrench can get tossed into that plan so doggone easily. And when that happens, it really, what Helping Seniors does and what 211 does and what Aging Matters does, all these resources put together make it possible for people to sort of shift from one maybe way of planning to another way of planning.
Yeah, and you know, the thing that occurs to me is the amount of of calls and the variety of calls that our senior information helpline receives every single week is really part of that story, because it just shows the breadth of topics that need to be covered among seniors in our county.
Well, when I started this back in 2011, I put together what I called my first assistance sheet. And over the years, we've had different people work for us, and some have added to the assistance sheet, some have detracted from it, some have completely let it go. So as I told Kerry before the show this morning, folks, we need to sit down and revamp our assistance sheet, because when you get into addressing and talking about elements of care, you can get so wrapped around the axle. And that's a term that we've heard many times, when essentially what it means is that we can be fed too much information, and we get to the point where we can't untangle what we've been fed.
Right. Well, and that's actually the point, is that a lot of times, particularly when we're out representing helping seniors at different events, and people come up to us and say, what can you help us with? And we say it's a wide variety. You just need to shoot it across the bow, and let's see what we can try to do to help in some way. But the interesting thing is, I said, we are a small organization, and we exist because of the generosity of the people who support the work of helping seniors. But one of the things I say is a lot of times it's the caliber of the knowledge, because you in particular and the other people associated with helping seniors have a good idea of who to go to try to at least help a situation. And I think that's one of the reasons why the Senior Information Helpline has been able to help, more than 2,200 families since the organization began. And it's on every different topic. It's just phenomenal, the wide range of things that seniors find they're not sure who to turn to for.
Well, one of the problems, Gary, is that when you mention any numbers, whether you say 2,200 families or 100 families, what it really boils down to, what does it take on the part of our information specialists or me when I answer the phones, even with my the background I have in senior care. Just this week alone, I have tried, since our education specialist has left, and our executive director resigned last week, I'm sort of filling two hats along with what I was doing. But just this week alone, I've had calls for where can I get sandbags to, I've had tree roots. I can see them under my driveway, but I suspect I have tree roots under my foundation of my house. How do I get somebody to inspect that? I can no longer get into the bathtub, and I need to have the bathtub replaced by a shower. But we also have had extensive damage due to the hurricane. We had no insurance, and we might lose our house. To always getting calls on transportation, calls on affordable housing. This is just this week, folks. It's just this week, Kerry.
Oh, I know.
Downsizing. Some people get to the point where it's got so much stuff that they can no longer take care of the stuff, and they want to get rid of it. The children maybe aren't in the area for them to give it to. You don't want to just put it on the sidewalk. They would rather see it go to some organization. So I've got a lady, and she's one of our sponsors, Carla Pickle, with Organized Creative Designs. That's what she does. She is an older person herself. She's a senior citizen, I think. I may speak out of turn. If I speak out of turn, Carla, you can correct me. But she understands what we're talking about. And then we have people that want to get rid of furniture they have in their house, and they want to know what charitable organizations go pick this stuff up. And we got a lot of calls, Kerry, by people that need help, but they want people to come to their house and do this. And just like somebody was calling about free flu shots. I found that one of the drugstores gives flu shots for $42, but some people can't afford that, and they want a free flu shot. So we found somebody that will give free flu shots. Then I got on to after that, I get somebody who calls and says, do you have anybody that will come to the house and give a flu shot? Because they get somebody out. Yet then I think about somebody I know The Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation has a transportation program. There's no charge for it. You can make a donation, and the donation idea is good because it helps them pay for the gas and for the rental of the vehicles on a monthly basis, since they have to pay for that. But they have a wheelchair van, and they can take a person that was in that wheelchair, they can take them to a place to get a flu shot. But, and then to top it all off, I got one where a person had obviously had made plans to age, but this person was pretty close in age to me, and I'll be 85. They're pretty close to me. They sound good on a telephone, but they have a disability, and they had worked for this company for 11 years, and the company sort of went by the board. The new company coming in didn't want to continue to retain this person. Oh, goodness. So while this person was living on Social Security, there are other sources of employment. His funds he set aside had dried up. So he needed a small job to offset the cost. And so here I am trying to help this guy, and then all of a sudden it's just like, when you go into a dark room, you pull the light switch on, and the light comes on, and you're flooded with knowledge.
Yes.
And this is what I keep talking about. Here I am, a guy's talking about somebody getting help to people, connecting with resources. This guy was an Air Force vet of 6 years. Well, with it just living on Social Security, I talked to the VA. Yeah, he's eligible for the VA aid and attendance program. Yes. Which is somewhere between $900 and $1,100 a month. Now, here's the real hooker in all this. This guy had been going to the VA to a doctor's, getting his medicines there, a cardiologist there. Why didn't he know about the VA aid and attendance program? Did not, evidently.
Well, that's the whole argument that I make for what the job of helping seniors does is so important. We've talked many times that we are here to complete the aging information resources that are available here, not to compete with services that already exist, because a lot of times I know you it's another prime example where you've discovered and I certainly hear it all the times, that people aren't aware of who to call. A lot of times, there used to be that expression, if you had a friend in the business, you would call them about whatever, maybe it was a car or furniture or who knows, you have a friend in the business. Well, we've talked about this before with helping seniors and aging. Aging is on the job training. You really don't know until you get there. And so it helps to have a friend in the business. And let's be honest, that's what you or the people that answer the telephone line for helping seniors do. They're a friend in the business because they say, oh, I can maybe connect a dot here. You served in the Air Force. I can connect you. Are you aware of this program? It floors me how many people are not familiar with a program that could make that much of an impact. We get a call, somebody doesn't even know that there's such a thing as Meals on Wheels. It's just interesting that one piece of information is as important as anything else could be to them.
Yeah. The other part of the equation, Kerry, is that we find is that, as we get older, the way we live changes often. And sometimes we talk about World War II veterans and people of World War II being the greatest generation alive. Those are nice words. But as you get older and the funds start to dry up, you still have to eat, you still have to have a roof over your head, and you may not be able to maintain the style of living that you've been accustomed to for 70 or 80 years, and you might have to downsize. It's nice to live in a house and keep your furniture there, but when you're living on a fixed income and you're paying $950 out of a almost $1,500 a month Social Security check, that doesn't leave you a whole lot to live on.
It's the challenge that we spoke about last week when we were going over those statistics from the Florida Department of Elder Affairs, where they had broken down the needs, just in our county. And if you remember, one of the statistics that really stuck out in my mind was they have this dependency ratio. And they use it to measure kids, which everybody agrees children are dependent on their parents or other people who are helping to raise them, because they can't make it on their own. And if you remember the statistic, I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but over the next 25 years, it's pretty much a straight line. It was like 30% or something like that. But the thing that was phenomenal that I remember was how much the dependency for seniors is going to grow over that same period of time. It was like somewhere around the 30% mark today, or 38%, but it was going to jump to 64% by the year 2040. And see, that's the thing is people have to get ahead of that aging curve, or start taking steps to find out the information that will help them. One of the things I was thinking is that we do that's so important with helping seniors is this media outreach. I was as you brought in this list of, here are some of the calls that we received this week, and some of the things that our organization found itself trying to resolve. And I was sitting there thinking, like, if you look at the Helping Seniors newsletter in the center of the October Senior Scene magazine, we have information that touches on a lot of these kind of things. There's articles, for example, and the November issue is just fixing to come out in just a couple of days, but the October issue talks about Medicare open enrollment. That could save you thousands of dollars, as we've talked about on many programs.
Yeah, because President Trump has made some sweeping changes, and this is just sort of coming to light now. And I wish I'd have stuck that darn thing in my briefcase this morning. But there are some fantastic changes to the Medicare open enrollment, especially if you have a Medicare Advantage plan, right, and they're going to offer more. And Brevard County has Health First, which has a Medicare Advantage, but also has Humana. And people might think that Health First is the only player in the game, or that Humana is the only player. But you need to compare what each offers you. And the Shine people are the ones that do it. Don't go to a Humana counselor or a Health First counselor and say, geez, what's the best way to handle this? Heavens, I would go to somebody that is completely impartial. Well, and that's the beauty of the Shine program.
And as we've talked about before, everybody's situation requires different things. Apparently, I remember from many of the different programs that you've done, for example, with Lance Jarvis with Shine over the years, one of the things that seems to be important is, well, what are your current prescriptions? Will this plan help deal with those, whereas Plan B over here might be more appropriate because of the nature of the particular prescriptions that that your situation is requiring. And that's just one aspect where people will call up, and because Shine isn't really well known out there, what's Shine? I remember myself just a few years ago, I had no idea. It was an acronym for Serving Health Insurance Needs of Elders, because the average public doesn't know this until they run up on it. So, because we're always publicizing the information about how to get the best quality information, that's just on that's one topic, as you know, out of hundreds that we connect with.
Well, the thing is that, years ago, the family took care of the family.
Yes.
And that's changing a lot. I get a lot of children that call the organization for help for their parents, and they're asking us to help them find a way to solve their problems. And when I ask them a question, oh no, I can't afford to do that, or I can't take mom to live with us because it just wouldn't work. Well, how hard would those people have to work in order to make it work?
Well, and this is one of the discussions that we've had here before, is also that our elder population here oftentimes isn't benefited with having kids in the area. In fact, as you know, a lot of times we'll get a call that starts out with, well, I live in Chicago or something similar, and I was down visiting mom and dad, and I didn't realize until I was down there over the holidays how difficult it was becoming for them. And all of a sudden, they're in a crisis mode sitting in Chicago trying to help mom and dad who are down here in Florida. that's one example. But another example of that same thing is I think the kids, because I just think about, our own personal experience with what we went through with our moms, is you just don't know until you run up, and then you don't know. And I was having this discussion with somebody yesterday. I said, to those of us, when we're not in the business, all we think about for our parents is, well, there must be a nursing home. We don't have any concept of how many different variations. There's everything from assisted living to independent living to skilled nursing. I mean, there's that whole panorama that we know now from inside, but to the average child walking into a situation for a parent, this is all a whole new language that they're forced to learn.
As much as we talk, Kerry, there's one sort of common thread that weaves itself in and out of this equation. I've seen it over the years so darn many times. Family members want somebody else to either help them solve the problem or take the problem off their hands. And when you try to take a long-term care problem off of somebody's hands, the question then becomes, who is going to pay for it?
Sure.
And right now, the only vehicle available in the United States, with a few exceptions, and I want a couple exceptions, but the really only speaking is the only way to cover all this is Medicaid. And since Medicaid is designed to take care of low-income people, right away, the nursing home beds and what is made available as terms of service for Medicaid patients certainly does not compare to the element of care, type of care that you're going to get if they have their own insurance plan, if they have long-term care insurance, or if they are wealthy enough to say, no, I will foot the cost of that care myself. Now, the average person cannot afford the cost of care. We'd like to say that the median income in the United States is high and that we can just about do anything we want to do with our money. Having been in this business a number of years, I can assure you, listeners, that is far from true. Mm-hmm. It's far from true. And so it now becomes extremely important for a couple of things, I think, Kerry, to happen. First, people have to be better informed about what our elected officials are trying to do for us.
Absolutely.
Now, in trying to do for us, do they even know what are some of the basic systems that need to be in place to help an aging population? And to me, if you're going to help an aging population, you have to have some idea of the care dollars that are available as opposed to the cost of what those elements of care are going to be.
Yeah, we've talked about this aspect so often. It's one of the reasons why Helping Seniors so strongly advocates on behalf of seniors. It's why we get involved in all the different organizations that we can, because I think half of the battle is an education process. Again, people see kids, they think that's an important thing to look after. It represents the future. It's all these good things. We've raised a 50-cent sales tax to make sure kids have better schools here. We're concerned about the environment, so we say let's take better care of the lagoon. But the question always comes down to, it's a very thorny issue, and so everybody says, yeah, we have to do more for seniors, but nothing really happens at the level it needs to. So then it happens by crisis. They talk about, remember, I think it was a couple of weeks ago on the radio show, you had brought in an article that appeared in the New York Times, and it was written by a person, and the headline or the starting point of the article was, this person was just having to have this hip replacement under Medicare, and what did that cost collectively, the entire medical system? And it could have been solved with a grab bar, because the grab bar, for whatever that cost, could have prevented the fall. It's almost, what was that old nursery rhyme for the one of a nail, the shoe was lost and all that thing, and it leads to the end of the war. But the point is now, supposedly, with the help that's coming in the new version of what Medicare rules will allow, there is going to be some provisions to help you get to and from a doctor, and there will be some provisions to even help you with things that might make staying at home safer and more economical. And I think it's our responsibility collectively to advocate, to write our people, whether it be commissioners, Congress people, whatever, to let them know, look, this is important. You take care of it not only because we have mothers and fathers, but because, Lord willing, one day we'll be those people that need that help.
Yeah. We know, speaking from personal experience, I have fibromyalgia, and my balance is very poor. And it's easy for me to fall. I have fallen one time that I'm aware of that I completely bollocksed the whole thing up, and I did fall. It was my fault. But there are other things that we could do better about informing the people about how to take better care of themselves. And you're right. One of the things that the federal government has recognized with these new Medicare changes that are going to become effective on 1 January, medical assistance in the home via things like grab bars in the bathrooms, safety devices in the home, better knowledge made available to people about the use of walking devices. If you have poor balance, a cane can help, but the cane cannot do what a four-wheel rollator can do.
No, and see, this is another point. This is why I was thinking what the role of helping seniors is so important. It's one part, it's reactive. That's the information helpline. People call us, now there's a problem, and they're trying to resolve it, and we will do everything that we can within our auspices and abilities to further that situation or to help them. The second thing we do is that we try to help provide information that helps them for tomorrow. Like when you sit down and you have Bill Johnson as a guest and he talks about the importance of medical documents and things like that, that's a huge thing. But then there's also the kind of the living in today aspect where we provide information that will help on all these different, here, if you're at this point, these are choices that you might look at. And when we're talking about walking aids, it brought to my remembrance that you have done several, both radio shows and television shows with Chris Marriott, where you guys really dug deep into walking aids. And those are available, of course. You can go to the Helping Seniors of Brevard.org website, for example, Google walking aids, and you can pull up those and start educating yourself so that you can be safe at home.
Well, that's really important. Okay. We're at our mid-show break, folks, and do stay with us. We're going to talk about a couple of different aspects of helping seniors when we come back after the break. Stay with us.
1232 on WEJF 90.3 FM. Now back to more of Helping Seniors of Brevard, heard every Wednesday, 12 noon to 1 p.m. And here's your host, Joe Steckler.
Thank you, John. Welcome back to the second half of Helping Seniors. Our show, the purpose of the show is to inform, educate, and connect seniors and those who care for seniors to the many resources available in Brevard County. We, Helping Seniors, are also a resource, and our resource is the many resources that we provide to everybody else, like this radio show.
That's right.
Like our television shows, our columns in Hometown News, Aldea Today, Ebony News Today, Aldea Today, Space Coast Daily, Senior Scene Magazine, Spotlight Magazine, the Space Coast Channel, a television channel, 15 shows a week. But you have to do a little work, folks. You have to get out there and find out about this stuff. My co-host, Kerry Fink, is here with me in the studio, and Kerry's going through a new phase of what we're trying to do here at the organization called our Directory for Seniors. We can talk about all this stuff, but, I try to do the very best we can through educating people in our newspaper columns, especially in Hometown News. We're now going with a bi-monthly, every other week column in Hometown News, and like last Friday, the article was about the value of adult day health care and what that can do to give families a way to help take care of somebody. This week, the column is going to come out in Hometown News is about the election.
Good.
And I'm not telling anybody how to vote.
Just get out and vote.
Yeah, get out and vote. You know, I don't care whether you're a Republican, an independent, a Democrat, or anything else. All I say, Kerry, is for somebody to use their heads and find out. You know, my wife and I have sat down and we went over these 12 amendments, and
sure,
we were asking ourselves questions. We're still got a couple we're trying to get answers to. I had a good friend of mine I played football with at the Naval Academy, and he called me and asked me how I was going to vote on the amendments, and I told him I wasn't quite sure how I was going to do all of them yet, but he said, well, you're more involved than I am. I said, well, I can tell you how I'm going to vote. I said, that's all I can do. I said, it's not a recommendation. He said, that's not what I want. He said, I just want to know what you're thinking.
Right.
And it's people try to gather information, and you know, always one of the hardest things for me to do, Kerry, is to remember that, you know, this show is made possible through the generosity of a lot of sponsors.
Yes.
And the majority of those sponsors are connected with the care of people. And just let me read some of these people. Organized Creative Designs. And I mentioned this lady because she's helping a family right now that want to downsize, and they just don't know how to go about doing it. Barbara McIntyre is with Reverse Mortgages, and you know, some seniors get themselves in trouble financially, but a reverse mortgage can help you if it's done the right way.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to make more problems for yourself. You don't want to go to a guy called a payroll lender or something like that. A guy will give you money, advance you money, but it's going to cost you an arm and a leg to pay for it. So you're not solving a problem. You're just creating another problem.
Oh, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, but we got people like the Eye Institute, Jerry Hedlock with United Healthcare, the Vitas Hospice, and Bill Johnson, the elder law attorney, Hibiscus Court, Chateau Madeleine is a new assisted living facility, Beach Funeral Home, Allegra Printers, Affordable Glass Protection, August Belton, who's a financial advisor, and I've got a meeting with Gus next week to talk about ways that we can do a better job of working together, because I know a lot of seniors need better information about their financial investments, because the reason I know this is because people ask me, and I'm not qualified to tell somebody how to invest their money. I am qualified to say you better ask questions.
No, exactly. Literally yesterday afternoon, I had dialed up channel 499. We happen to be a Spectrum subscriber, and that's where Space Coast Government TV and the Helping Seniors shows air 3 times a day. One at I think it's 8:30, and then one at 4:30 p.m. and then 5 p.m. And yesterday there was the program that you had done with August Velton, and you were talking about how to plan the right time to take Social Security. There's a lot of things that could really hurt you if you don't take the time to get ahead of that and understand that when you choose things has a lot to do with how well that's going to work for you. And the other side of it is that even if you might have started taking money, you can maybe do some things that will make it more profitable for you later, depending on your circumstances. And again, when we were talking about this before the break. One part of the information that Helping Seniors provides is things that are reactive, where we're just trying to help somebody stabilize a difficult situation. That's typically what the information line does. There's one part that's proactive, which is trying to help you make the correct plan so that you don't find yourself in the crisis situation. And then a lot of it is just how do we get through the situation of today, which may not be a crisis, but you could make decisions today that will help you on tomorrow. And that's why this whole I think you used the term, you had done a show with an expert attorney, Ruth Rhodes, and you called it, I believe you call it wasn't a cornucopia, you had a different word for it, but you had a smorgasbord of legal affairs, and you were just touching on all these different topics that affect senior lives, everything.
Well, Ruth's practice covers everything. She likes to say that, well, and she has, I think there are 2 attorneys there, and she has 4 paralegals.
Wow.
And paralegals do a lot of the law work. They do a lot of the research, and they take a lot of the time that the attorney would spend. The paralegal can do the research and more cost effectively.
Right.
But it's all getting the right answer, and that's what we strive to do with helping seniors. But a lot of people seem to think that organizations that are nonprofits like the sharing centers, helping seniors is one. I can think of some of the others, grandparents helping grandchildren. All these organizations they're not funded by the government.
No.
They depend on local communities. We have some foundations that will help. Historically, they don't do it. Historically, the way organizations, nonprofits, make their way in the financial world is by getting donations from their people.
Yes.
And I think back to the days of television when we had all these. One of the best ones was Bobby Baker, and he was so well known. The man and his wife Tammy, they attracted millions of dollars.
Sure.
But nonprofits, the little organizations like us, we don't attract millions of dollars. We're lucky if we attract thousands of dollars. And all we want is a way to pay bills. But when you get right back down to it, though, Kerry, you think about it, and some of the calls that I've gotten this week, calls for affordable housing.
Yes.
The county doesn't provide affordable housing. They help a little bit, but most of the affordable housing is done by private investors that go out and seek money. I know a group of men right now that are trying to put together a plan to develop affordable housing. When I called one of them to see if they could help this person that asked me about affordable housing, and the guy told me, he says, Joe, he says, we're just trying to find. We haven't done anything yet. We haven't started building yet. But they're going to build something, but they have to develop the financial package to make that happen.
It's a complex challenge, and that's why in the present form, all we can do is look at the particulars of the situation and try to make the best foot forward we can. And that's why I come back to a lot of times when people step into these situations, they're coming at it with broad brushstrokes. I wasn't kidding when I said earlier, I think to the average person, the thing that you do with mom or dad is you interchangeably use old folks home, nursing home, or something like that. As a general public, we don't have much sense or knowledge of things like daycare centers for seniors. We don't understand. We could, through people like Elaine Cook and her Handy Pros, that they could make the home safe, and it could work at home with people like Jennifer Helen and Seniors Helping Seniors, getting just a little help around the house, or that if you need to take another level, there's other people that can provide different levels of home care services, which might be a way to go. Or then even when you move into the assisted living, there's everything from real luxury kind of places like a Riverview to places that excel in technology like a Zon. And there's all these different approaches. And the average person just doesn't know who to call. That's why when you were talking about the directory, it made me think of this. The amount of growth that our county has means that new people are moving in all the time. These people don't know who to call or who's trusted in the community or who might, God forbid, rip them off or something like that. And that's why having the ability to be in contact with the Helping Seniors, which has been here. First of all, the organization's been around, this is 7th year or something? And your background of doing this reaches back. I mean, you're the guy that founded the Alzheimer's Foundation. So all of these things, there's nobody that has better knowledge of at least where the best place to turn to in a crisis is than the help that we have here at Helping Seniors.
I know a lot of them, Kerry. I don't know all of them, but I do know this. Let's say if a person has a Social Security income of $2,000 a month, that means that they're pretty much at the top of the earning brackets in the country.
Right.
Okay? And being at the top of the earning brackets, I would say those people are the people that own homes on the water.
Sure.
They have a couple of nice cars. Sure. They belong to the country clubs, and they do these things, and they play golf, they travel, and they do a lot of these things. Now, some of them that are in that category don't travel as much, and they still, in order to get the $2,000 a month Social Security, most of the people in that category have done some planning for retirement.
Right.
Now let's take that person. Let's say that person gets $2,000 a month. Generally speaking, it's around $1,300 or $1,400 for the person that sort of is in the bottom end of that category. But let's say that person doesn't do anything else, or they outlive what they set aside. Maybe they're able to set aside a couple $100,000, and that's a high figure because most people can't even do that.
Right.
Well, regardless, whatever it is, let's say from 65 when they took their Social Security to 80, they managed to use up that nest egg that they had. And they're now down to about an income per year of $1,400 a month. And I just had a young woman on our radio show that they do a bang-up job of providing home assisted living care for people, and the cost ranged anywhere from $3,500 a month to $8,000. Now, $3,500 a month. What if they can even drive that down to $3,000? They can't drive that down to $1,400 a month.
Right.
So you got that gap between, let's say, I'll round it off to $1,500 and $2,500. That's another $1,000. Where are the people going to find that $1,000? What I'm saying, and the reason I'm trying to put this example out to our listeners is that if you fall in the category that we're talking about, Kerry, these people need to talk to people like Gus Belton, a financial planner, or Beth Courtney Braswell.
Yes.
They need to ask some questions.
Yes.
And they need to think about what can they do to make some changes. And you can make changes when you're 45, 50, 55, and 60. I didn't start my investment savings until I was roughly 45. So I know. And the reason I didn't, because, and I put this in an article I wrote for Hometown News, I was paying 16% interest on my house.
Sure.
You know, when you're paying interest,
sure.
It's like, what
are you going to do?
You can't put a whole lot aside when you're raising. You got a couple of children, and you got people in school, and all this. You just can't do it. So most of us struggle. Most of us have to think about what we're doing.
Sure.
But that goes right back to here we are living in a county that's one of the oldest in the United States of America in terms of the number of people over the age of 65. We don't even have a doggone county aging plan. We don't even have county commissioners that are even aware of the needs of seniors and other nonprofits. And it makes me very angry when they take away the measly part of $500,000 to serve 20 or 25 nonprofits, folks. And here I am mailing some of you that listen to this radio show. I mail some of you our request for annual fund, or I'll send you something on our car raffle. And we do that Because we have to raise money.
That's how we keep the doors open.
That's how we keep the doors open. You're right.
Yeah.
But think about the guy that I was trying to help that needed help paying an electrical bill, and another nonprofit tells me to tell this guy to go to a sharing center because they'll pay his water bill. And I sent something to the guy. He says, Joe, he said, I've already been there. And he said, I make too much to qualify for them to help me pay my water bill. And here is the guy that's making $1,400 a month.
Right.
And you multiply that out, you can't even get into some of the lowest assisted living facilities in Brevard County for that kind of money.
It's an absolute challenge, but that's also comes back to the point that there are different situations. All you can do is to try to find the best fit in everybody's individual situation. And like you pointed out at the open of the show, different people have different family. Sometimes the family will step up and be part of the process, and sometimes, unfortunately, they won't. One of the things that is clear is that's why we are so vocal. You write column after column talking about, guys, we need to pay attention to the needs of seniors, because, the reason I think, quite frankly, kids programs, and decidedly so, are popular is because people will make noise. They say, look, these kids are dependent. They need help. And that's true. But the same argument is to be made for these seniors that we're talking about. And to be honest, these are the ones who've paid into the system their entire life. They're the ones who've been paying to help raise the kids all along. Don't they deserve a little bit of dignity or a little bit of help?
Yeah. And no matter how much we argue about it, or how much we talk about it, or how much we say they should have done a better job of planning, Kerry, the fact remains that not everybody has access to the job that will enable them to set aside what they're going to need in this day and age to pay for their care when they get to be 65, 75, and 85. And with us living longer and with the cost of living going up, and folks, somebody called me this week for affordable housing. Affordable housing? Let me tell you, there's a link here in this county, in Brevard County, and I talked to the man who was trying to help a woman find a place, and he said, Joe, I couldn't even find anything decent for less than $950 a month.
Yeah, it's a challenge.
It is. It's not a challenge, Kerry. It's not even a challenge, because if they're only making $1,000 a month, I know a number of women live in this county that are only making $1,000 a month. For them to pay $800, $900,
can't do it.
It's impossible. And you go down to Trinity Towers, I think there's something like $412 a month if you qualify.
Right.
And if you qualify, then you got to get on the waiting list.
Yeah. Well, that goes back to the whole thing. Here we go back to the value of information again. That's why I've seen you and Bill Johnson do a number of shows where you talk about the importance of income planning and how you, to be honest, how you work with these forms and things, because certain things are included, certain things are not included, and how that form is correctly presented can have a lot of times an impact on whether you're able to qualify for these things or not. So again, I think this is the role that Helping Seniors does very well. I will say we're the little engine that could. This is the arguably probably one of the smaller organizations in the county, and certainly but one of the most vocal about helping seniors.
We're very vocal about helping seniors, yes.
And this is the point. When you talk about the businesses that support helping seniors, there are certainly a lot of assisted living homes and people that, hearing places and people that directly serve seniors. But we always make the distinction, though, that a lot of times the need for help sometimes transcends money. I mean, sometimes it could be somebody with a lot of resources, but they don't have a clue where to begin, and they just need a trusted advice on where to begin. So here's a program that you might call, maybe it's a little bit more luxury thinking, but one of the people that supports Helping Seniors of Brevard is a organization called Must Love Travel, and they specialize, for example, in helping seniors travel safely and effectively. And so all these things that the average person might not be aware that are resources in our county for whatever that particular need is, we're cataloging them. That's why the directory is there. We know who has a good track record of helping, and a lot of times the agencies to go to. And like you're talking about, somebody that's retired from the Air Force, has served our country and doesn't even know that a benefit that could literally resolve the fellow's financial issues, what was the worth of that one phone call to that person?
It could be tremendous.
Yes.
It could give him the help that he needs. And I'm glad you brought up Kerry with her Must Love Travel, because I asked her a question when I had her on the radio show, and I said, on that TV show too, I said, how did you get involved? And she says, Joe, I like getting people a good deal, but I'd like to see them do it smartly, and I'd like to see them do it safely.
Right.
And a lot of people don't realize that when you travel, there are certain types of insurance that you should take.
Right.
That are very, very, it's very inexpensive. For example, if you're going to travel and go out of the country, one of the things you could do is take what we call burial insurance, mm-hmm. and it's a burial policy out. What that does, it ensures that your body is brought back mm-hmm. to this country from whatever country that you
right.
passed away in. And folks, one of the most horrendous problems you're ever going to encounter is if you die outside the United States and
right.
you try to get back into the United States. It is extremely complicated and costly.
Yeah.
And here is a policy that you buy for a very few dollars compared to the cost of what you're doing. It just, we got to do a better job of it, Kerry. It's just like traveling and insurance and everything else. It's going to cost, and you give up a few meals. And we've got about 3 minutes left, folks. And I remind you, I just forget this at the very end, but I'll remind you for next week. We're on every Wednesday, 90.3 FM. We ask you to tell your friends about the show so that we can increase our listening audience. And the best way we do it is through our writing, our talk shows, our radio shows, and asking those that listen to us. But you can always call us. And a phone number here, if you want to write it down, is 722-9998. 722-9998. Put it down by your phone, because I forget to tell you about it. And I don't take those little pills for Alzheimer's yet. My think box is still working pretty well, but no matter how much we know about a thing, Kerry, we do forget.
No, and there's always new things to learn, and that's one of the reasons why it makes sense to stay connected to helping seniors, because like we said at the open of the show, you have a friend in the senior business. That's who helping seniors is all about.
Yeah, it's extremely important, and I cannot emphasize the importance of every one of us, independent, Republican, Democrat, to get out to the polls and vote in this coming election, because this election could decide the direction of our country for a number of years.
And if you don't vote, you have no right to complain because you didn't exercise your civic duty.
Yeah. If you don't vote, you can't fuss about the immigrants trying to get into this country.
Or whatever issue is important for you. Yeah, because that's the luxury we have in this country, is to express your opinion and do your research, Yeah.
And if you have a question, you jot it down, call us, because if we don't have the answer for you, and I tell you, I will be working, and I told Kerry before the show today that I was going to start working on developing a new, what I call our assistance sheet, and once we get it put together, we put it online, and for those of you that are interested in how to contact helping seniors, how to contact SHINE, how to contact the Elder Affairs, how to get started on Medicaid. And by the way, folks, you just don't magically get, okay, We're out of time. I'll talk about Medicaid next week, but have a great weekend, and read my column that's coming out this Friday on elections, and get out there and vote next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Joe Steckler with Helping Seniors of Brevard, heard every Wednesday afternoon, 12 noon to 1 p.m. here on WEJF 90.3 FM.